Hi everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Jen Gates is here with us, Equestrian extraordinaire. You got your event this weekend. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Thanks so much for coming in. So first of all, it seems like a really cool time for you and obviously a great event going on this weekend on Long Island. So first of all, how are things for you and how excited are you for this whole event?
Things are great, and I'm so excited to be here in New York this week for the event. It's an incredible show. I was able to attend the Longines Masters in Paris for a few years, but I've never been to the New York event, so it's just an honor to be here, and we're excited to compete.
Definitely. So why don't we wind it back first? Take me back to first hopping on a horse and what that whole experience is like for you, just immersing yourself in the sport at such a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was a kid, I tried a bunch of different sports. My parents wanted me to be exposed to everything, so baseball, tap dancing, basketball. And I said, I really want to take horseback riding lessons. And they were like, that's interesting. So I started out just local, learned how to groom, tack up the horse, hop on, and just completely fell in love with it. And so it progressed from 1 lesson a week to 3 lessons a week, and then eventually competing a bit. But I was just really taken with the relationship that I was able to have with the animals and the connection that you can develop with them.
That's awesome. So when do you realize that it goes from being a hobby to being something I want to compete in, not only here in the country, but internationally?
That's a good question. Well, I think it's always somewhat of a hobby because it's something that I just enjoy so much and love doing. But I think when I was 14 or 15, I really realized what the sport could be globally, particularly in show jumping, which is a specific part of jumping. There are lots of different divisions, and I think people get confused. They hear hunters, trail riders, western, but show jumping is one of the 3 Olympic disciplines, and you essentially try and complete a course without knocking any rails down and going as fast as possible. So I think when I was 14 or 15, I really realized that I wanted to focus on that and try and compete internationally and become as good as I could.
That's awesome. So what were some of the challenges you faced, whether it was the competition, whether it was just you improving, you preparing? What are some of the things you faced along the way?
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the biggest things was developing my confidence in the sport. When you're jumping a 1,200-pound animal over huge fences,
it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. And so getting that confidence every step of the way as I progressed in height and really believing in myself and the partnerships I developed with the horses, I think that mental aspect was a big challenge for me for a while and something I still work at today.
Yeah, no doubt. So I told you before we started that Jessica Springsteen was here last year, and she talked about how she balanced Duke and this career.
Absolutely.
You go to Stanford and you have to do the same thing. Like, college is already hard enough. So how did you pull this off?
College is hard. I think Jesse, I think, would say similarly, like we both thrive on being really busy, so getting to have your schoolwork and really focus on that and then have something to look forward to on the weekends to get to ride, to practice after school. It's a really just a fun hobby, and you know, we have great support teams, trainers that make it possible for us to go back and forth and do both. So.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the places that you visited that have just blown your mind that you never thought you'd visit, especially with this sport? Oh,
that's a great question. I mean, I got to do the Longines Masters in Paris, which was incredible.
Paris is an amazing place.
An incredible city. We've been able to visit Switzerland, which was just beautiful in the summer. All over the U.S., really. We've competed in California, New York. Florida's a big hub for us in the winter. So just every venue is unique.
Definitely. And so you said before you haven't done New York. So what are you most excited about? And how do you go into a competition when you haven't necessarily been in that exact place?
Yeah, so I'm most excited about the crowds here. I think New Yorkers are very enthusiastic, and it's a great show. I was able to watch the live stream last year and see how wonderful it was. Getting ready for a competition like this, I think a lot of it's mental preparation, just taking some time to be calm beforehand, to really connect with your horse, whether that's grooming them or riding them beforehand, and spending time with my team and understanding how we can have a good lead up so that those 90 seconds in the ring are as good as they possibly can.
That's the crazy thing. It's just such a short amount of time, and you really can't make any mistakes too. So how do you deal with that pressure in the moment? Because it's one thing to prepare beforehand mentally, one thing to take the time grooming, but once you're in the moment, how do you make sure you execute?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's something that I think about all the time. Really just trying to get into that state of flow, like a lot of sports psychologists talk about, where you're fully connected with the animal and only thinking about what's happening underneath you in that second. So whether it's the first or the last jump, not changing anything about your mindset, just really staying focused and feeling what's going on with the horse, because they also act differently in different moments, and you have to be able to react to them and support them as best as possible.
Yeah, there's already so much going on in your mind, but then balancing that with what the horse is dealing with too.
Yeah.
Like that's a fascinating thing to me, because like people talk about it with dogs or cats, like there's that love language between the two, but like with a horse, like how long does it actually take to really develop that time?
It depends on the horse-rider combination. I would say the best combinations, have been together for years, but there are some horses that you just click with immediately and others that it takes more time to develop that relationship. I'm fortunate that the two I've brought this week, Alex and Pumped Up Kicks, I've had for 3 and 4 years, so I know them quite well. We have a really good camaraderie, and I can predict, what they're going to do at any given point in the ring, for the most part.
I gotcha. So in addition to your life as an equestrian,
Yes.
what else are you involved with these days? What else is going on? I mean, similar to me, like we're both in our 20s right now. Obviously, figuring out your identity is a big thing. So how are you managing all of that, and what else is going on?
Absolutely. So I just graduated from Stanford, and I'm about to start medical school in the city, actually. Yeah,
Awesome.
So I'm very excited about that. Horses are a huge passion for me, but I've also always loved doing something else. And so this year has just been great, though, because I've had a gap year, so I've been able to fully focus on the riding and improve my skill set, which will hopefully serve me in the future.
And just having some time to chill also, because like whether it's high school going to college or after college, like jumping right into med school would have been a beast.
Exactly.
Just to have a little time, and it's not like you're not doing anything, like you have plenty going on, but just to separate from it a little bit, I think that will probably benefit you going forward.
Absolutely. Early 20s are a great time to explore.
Totally.
I love reading and traveling and spending time with family and friends, so it's been a great year.
Reading anything good or watching anything good these days?
I just started a book called Slow Medicine, which I'm really excited about. I read a book called Why We Sleep, which was really cool. Sleep deprivation is a real thing.
Oh, it most certainly is. Yeah, I don't think enough people realize how important that is.
Not at all. I read Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind.
Okay.
Really fascinating.
A lot of mental stuff here, which is cool.
Yes, absolutely. And then I love fiction, so I just read An American Marriage by T.R.E. Jones. Really great story.
That's awesome. There's a book called Mind Gym, which goes, have you heard of this?
That. I have not read it yet.
So my fiance was a softball player in college, and she read it and kind of shared it with her teammates. And it's just great mentally, just in terms of how you can take the next steps. But that's the cool thing about athletes today. It's like, it's not only what you're doing with your horse or on the field, it's everything with mental health. And like, these weren't conversations 5 years ago that we were having, whether it's depression or anxiety or just execution in the moment. So how have you seen things kind of progress in your sport in particular?
Yeah, I think people have definitely been more engaged with the psychology aspect of the sport. More people are talking about it, getting good resources and good help, particularly in meditation, I think is a tool that I've used to really center myself before competition, be present in the moment. Because as I said, when you're in the ring, that's the most important thing, is just being there with your horse and not thinking about outcomes from the past or what's happened or what you're hoping to have happened. It's really about being there 100%. So I think there's been a huge shift in people being willing to talk about that and improve your mindset and your game in that way, as well as the physical aspects.
No question about it. So if people haven't checked out the sport, when they watch on CBS Sports Network, if they're in New York, what should they expect at Longines Masters in New York?
Oh, you should expect some of the top riders in the world, some of whom are mentors to me and idols of mine. They'll be competing there. Some really, really fast jump-off classes where people are just going all out, trying to leave the rails up but go as fast as possible. Sometimes people end up within 0.02 seconds of each other. So really high speeds, a lot of exhilaration, and it's a really fun sport to watch. My parents have gotten really enthused.
That's awesome.
As non-horse people, to enjoy the sport is pretty cool.
So Jen, why don't you tell everybody where they can check you guys out this weekend?
So this weekend from Thursday to Sunday, we will be at NCYB Live. You can check out the tickets and all of the details on the events at longinesmasters.com.
There you have it. That's Jen Gates. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.